Ignite to Impact.
Hi, welcome to Ignite to Impact. This is Dr. Geneva, your host, and I'm so delighted you're joining me on this podcast to inform and inspire positive and meaningful change within ourselves, within others. And, I'm Dr. Geneva, your host, and I'm a leadership coach and a strategist and now a best-selling author. And, I've just been enjoying so much sharing with you during this special time of the year. It's February and it's Black History Month. And while I'm one of those that believes that we should celebrate and recognize the contributions of all folk, all people, all the time, I do know, and, I can get it, that this month is a particular time where we stop and pause and especially acknowledge the contributions of African Americans in this country and around the world. And so I'm going to be right in that mix doing that. And so I decided this would be a great time to share with you some of the lessons learned from the book that I wrote with my dad, Justice on the Jersey Shore, lessons about leadership, lessons that I would have really never thought about in quite the way that I did until I sat down and began the writing journey with him. Now my dad passed away before his book was published, but the whole process of, learning more, reliving the stories, and then gleaning these lessons was something that I'll remember for a lifetime and certainly had impact. So here on Ignite to Impact, that's all we do. That's what we talk about, influence and impact and making change, positive change in organizations and in the community and in our everyday lives. I want you to, when you listen to this podcast, please subscribe, give me a rating, and feel free to go on over to Amazon and pick up your own copy of Justice on the Jersey Shore. And if you do, leave me a review there on Amazon. So, I wanted to, on this lesson, I wanted to share a little bit about credibility. I think it's a very important topic. In fact, when there are, surveys done on what do people think are some of the most important traits that great leaders have, credibility and honesty integrity always rises to the top. And I believe that great leaders do what they say they're going to do. A good leader knows the importance of credibility in all relationships, but especially in the position of leadership. The ability to get things done and walk the talk is important. People trust and more willing to follow people whose actions and words match. They're aligned. In addition, consistency helps leaders establish and strengthen their positioning and their brand as a leader. And you really develop a consistent public image by displaying the same reliable attributes in the same demanding situations over and over again. I remember when I was a kid, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, 3 sanitation workers stood there in their uniforms, holding their hats in their hands and asking to speak to Mr. Jones. I yelled, "Dad, Mom." My dad came down the hallway from his bedroom and told the men, "Come on in and have a seat." All I could think about was, wow, wait till Mom sees them sitting on her furniture in their work clothes. But Mom comes out the kitchen, smiles, and invites them to have a seat too. I was stunned. The men remained standing, still clutching their hats in their hands. They went on to tell my dad about their work conditions, how black sanitation workers did not have the same advancement opportunities that white workers had. For one thing, black workers never drove the trucks, just picked up the trash. Everybody told them, "Go see Mr. Jones. He'll help." Dad sat back in his chair with his legs crossed, listening, nodding. He finally told our guests he'd look into it. Well, he did. And although he was no longer president of the NAACP, Dad had significant influence as an EEO officer, that's Equal Employment Officer, with Fort Monmouth in his town. And in time, his discussions with the Neptune Township Committee and the city's sanitation department led to an agreement that gave black workers new job opportunities and better working conditions. So one of the things he did when talks dragged on for weeks before Labor Day, Dad suggested there was a chance trash cans might be left on the street just before the holiday if the workers weren't satisfied by then. And so just like Troy, the lead character in Fences, you remember Fences, played by Denzel Washington in the Oscar-winning movie based upon the August Wilson play, black sanitation workers finally won the right to drive garbage trucks and take on better, higher-paying jobs in the department. Well, it's sad to say that sometimes we know very few politicians that are known for doing what they'll say they do or will do. Too many of them sometimes find it easy to pretend they promise something different, even if a recording proves your memory is right. But a politician can't afford to be dishonest because their credibility means just about everything to them and to you. You'll find that a politician needs to be a lot more careful about what they say and what they do. And with leaders, this is so important. Now, I want to talk about one politician that the record shows is one of those careful politicians, matching words to action. And that's Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House of Representatives. Since she was elected to Congress in 1987, she's really earned a reputation for being straightforward and trustworthy. According to many media reports, the consensus among those who've studied her, who studied her long career, have say that she's progressive in her values but pragmatic in her policies and her politics. And she really seems to think a lot about counting votes, reading the mood of the public, and doing what she says she's going to do. Speaker Pelosi, who's 79, has represented much of the metropolitan San Francisco area for more than 30 years. She learned a lot about politics from her father and her brother, both of whom served as mayor of Baltimore, Maryland. She became the first woman to be elected Speaker of the House in January 2007. And she lost the job after the 2010 midterm elections, but then regained the position in 2019. Vanity Fair magazine painted a pretty good picture of her, and they described her as a leader who's had to deal with many points of views and competing interests, but has also been able to find common grounds for progress while maintaining a reputation for honesty and fairness. So what Vanity said about her: one of Pelosi's greatest strengths as a leader is that she listens. Her weekly schedule is littered with meetings with the full caucus, committee chairs, heads of various departments, during which she doesn't talk much. And she says that her leadership, she's the type of person that walks into a room and is the last person to speak, not the first. And that's how she keeps her finger on the pulse of her caucus. Vanity Fair also quoted another congresswoman who talked about what makes Speaker Pelosi effective, Congresswoman Jayapal of Washington State. She said Pelosi uses her ears. She listens carefully. She gets to know what makes someone tick. I think she's quick to try to access that, and she knows everything about you. She gets to know you and your family and your kids, and she trades and she barters and she bargains, and she really listens and knows your perspective, and she could use both sticks and carrots and all those things that are true, and that's what makes her very good at what she does. She listens. She has credibility. She sticks to the point. That's what my father did, too. He was focused. He stuck to the point. But most of all, his credibility mattered. What he said, how he aligned his words and action, and how he did what he said he would do. For a leader, credibility matters. Leaders who are credible do what they say they're going to do. So this is Dr. Geneva. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this brief leadership lesson that comes from Justice on the Jersey Shore, the book that I wrote with my dad about civil rights and the transformational leadership that was going on back then, and in many cases very quiet leadership, the leadership that you typically wouldn't read about in books or magazines or see on the news, which was one of the reasons I decided to write the book and also share with you during this fabulous time of Black History Month some of these lessons. I hope this will provide you with deeper insight into what great leaders do, particularly what they do about their words and their actions, and then the ability to listen and to learn and to really keep your credibility in check. That in fact you do what you say you're going to do, and your credibility matters. It's been great to be with you again, and I look forward to the next time we have conversations about igniting to impact. And as I've mentioned before, I'm going to be adding a special feature to Ignite to Impact, where we'll be looking at issues and things that matter, particularly to women over 50, because it's about living your life over 50 and what you want to do, how you want to reimagine your next steps, and maintaining and keeping and finding and reimagining and rediscovering your impact and how to make a positive difference in your life and the lives of others over 50. Because, sometimes, particularly for women, when we reach a milestone birthday like 50, we say, oh my gosh, I've lived half a century. What am I going to do next? Well, I want you to know that we're going to have lots of conversation, lots of tips, strategies, advice, and inspiration to answer those questions, to help figure out what's next. what kind of impact you're going to make next. So this is going to be a special feature that I'm adding to our conversations that we've had for the past 3 years with influencers in the arts and business and government and politics and leadership. And we've explored in Ignite to Impact what makes these leaders tick. What do they think about? How do they do what they do? And this is going to be another aspect of looking at individuals who are influencers and what they do in their lives and how they live vibrantly and with impact. So stay tuned. Follow me. I'm on Twitter and Facebook, all social media platforms. My handle is Dr. Geneva Speaks. My website, drgenevaspeaks.com. Come on in and join me at any time. And if you're an extraordinary woman influencer, a woman who has impact, I know you want to be part of my Facebook group. So please join me at Extraordinary Women Influencers, and let's stay connected. This is Dr. Geneva. Until next time, Ignite to Impact.
Ignite to Impact.